This is One on One. We are pleased to welcome Aly Richards, CEO of the Permanent Fund for Vermont's Children, and Rick Davis, President, the Permanent Fund for Vermont's Children. It's so good to see both of you.
You too, Steve.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Last time we saw you was in Vermont.
In Vermont.
Yeah.
I was honored to be part of a very important forum that was put together by the folks at the Terrell Fund. We are part of a series that you may have picked up at this point called Right from the Start NJ. You're going to see the website coming up, and that is a series that focuses on the issues and challenges and the opportunities connected to infants and toddlers. Up in Vermont, you've been doing this for a while.
We have. We've been at this, well, the Permanent Fund's been at this for 18 years. And really the motivation for getting started are really two things. One was it was a human equity issue, a fairness issue. And so I was working on restoring a block of buildings in Burlington's waterfront, and it was surrounded by a low-income area, and I got to know those families and the challenges they were facing and sort of the culture of poverty. And then I got to know the kids, and I watched these children grow up and have babies of their own. And I was able to hold these babies and see what beautiful babies they were and realize they had 2 to 3 strikes against them just because of the circumstances in which they were born. So that was one motivation, to create a level playing field for all children in Vermont. The second one is through 15 years of focusing on these issues, I saw that we weren't making major headway in issues of childhood poverty, the achievement gap that starts as early as 3 years old, special ed costs were continually increasing, and so there's no philanthropy or foundation at the time that was focused on lasting impact. And so there seemed to be an opportunity to do a different type of foundation that was focused on systems change.
Right.
And so that's what led us to where we are today.
But Aly, I'm curious about something. As I listen to Rick paint a big picture of it, I get curious about this. Your focus is birth to 5, right?
Exactly.
Right from the start, NJ is birth to 3. But talk about those early years. What makes them so critical in a child's development?
That's exactly the right question to ask, and it's why our mission is high-quality, affordable childcare for all who need it in Vermont.
Childcare.
By 2025. Childcare, high-quality, affordable, early childhood education. To us, it's the same thing. And the reason is because of the brain development. As Rick said, it's the ultimate level playing field. Because what happens in those crucial years, by age 3, 80% of the architecture of your brain is formed. By age 5, 90%.
Oh, age 3, it's 80%.
Yep.
Age 5, 90%.
Exactly. So what do we mean by brain architecture? Reading, writing, arithmetic. Yes, it's those things, but it's so much more than that. It's what we call social emotional development.
Oh, we're looking at a chart right there.
Exactly.
Break that down for us a little bit.
Exactly. So what we know about is this rapid neurological brain development, 1 million neurological connections a minute between age 0 and 3. So that's, again, what we call social emotional development, and it's skills like executive function, critical decision making, grit, perseverance. It's also the ability to regulate
conflict resolution.
Absolutely. Regulate emotion, ability to have stable, healthy relationships with other people. So you see that
all in that period?
Absolutely. That's the most crucial time, and it's also these super indicators of success later in life. And it's also, again, those that enter kindergarten, not what we say, not ready to learn, are then those that go on to not be reading at grade level by grade 3, don't go on to graduate, don't go on to go into any post-secondary education. So the ultimate return on investment, if you go up the pipeline, is at these crucial time, including healthcare, mental health. You also are developing a resiliency against addictive behaviors and chronic disease. So this is the sweet spot, 0 to 5 in our view, and that's why the Permanent Fund, we focus so clearly on it.
But Rick, let's follow up on this in terms of public policy, in terms of focus, in terms of where we put our resources.
Absolutely.
Has that, both in Vermont, we're dealing with New Jersey, nationally, have we focused in the way we should, in the way Aly just laid this out, on these years?
Absolutely not, but we've made major headway. So the United States, this is a national issue, Steve, you probably know that, and the United States spends half of what the other industrialized countries are spending. It's
half.
Half. It's 0.35% of GDP. And in, say, in France and New Zealand and Sweden, they're spending 0.7%. And so we're way behind the 8 ball in national spending. The state of Vermont, we heard the governor he was on this week on our public radio saying we spend 90% of our education dollars on K through 12, 5% on higher ed, and only 5% on early childhood. And then he went on to say, and that is where we get the highest returns. So we've made progress with our governor. We've got a movement going in Vermont. Are you familiar with the research by James Heckman, Nobel Prize-winning economist, who, I'll tell you a little bit about it, but he did some studies based on your chart up there with brain development. And now they have the imaging now. They can image sections of the brain to know what goes into healthy brain development and what doesn't. And they can track the behaviors that create healthy brain development. And so he did an analysis on the cost savings and came up with this 13 to 16% return on investment, investing in the early years. And he shows a graph. And way up here is early childhood, the high return on investment. And it comes down like this when you get down to K through 12. By the way, K through 12 is really important. But, and by the way, what we're talking about with high quality early childhood development is a gift to teachers, because right now what they want to do is be able to teach something that they're great at, and that's why they're there. But if you talk to teachers now, they're having to triage social, emotional, and cognitive development.
Because these issues have not been dealt with.
Because they haven't been dealt with up front.
So Aly and Rick, thank you for joining us. Stay with us right here, and
Thank you, Steve.
We'll be right back right after this.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by the Turl Fund, supporting Right from the Start NJ, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, NJIT, RWJ Barnabas Health, the New Jersey Education Association, Wells Fargo, and by the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.